All right, we're rolling now.
All right, that's exciting.
Gonna count us down.
All right.
3, 2.
Spooky shit.
You're listening to Missing Out with Lex Michael and Tari J. Let's start the show. Hey guys, welcome back to Missing Out. I'm Tari J.
I'm Lex Michael.
And if this is your first time listening, what we do here is we introduce each other to different media, whether it be music, television, movies, books, spoken word, experiences. And we introduce that to each other and you, the audience, and we talk about how it's built us up as people.
Oh, I get what you're
doing.
doing.
And we hope that it builds you up as people.
Oh, you're turning it into a bit.
It is the retrospective that is introspector.
It's a ghost pun. It's a ghost pun. It's cute and seasonal. Yep. It's very timely. Very very good.
This is the third in our Witching Out series.
Hashtag witching out.
Hell yeah. We talked about bed knobs and broomsticks. We talked about the witches. This week we're talking about the classic Hocus Pocus.
The Hucks and the Pucks.
Indeed.
There's definitely been a progression of least Halloween-y to most Halloween.
Oh, yeah.
For sure.
Because this one takes place on Halloween itself. It gets real in the weeds in terms of like witch lore.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely the most, like, you could argue the most witchy or the most stereotypically witchy of all of them. Also, I think a progression as far as the alleged treatment of children in the story. From kid-friendly, from the witch's perspective, to we're literally going to suck out your soul until your soul well is dry, and then you will be dead, and we will be younger because you are dead.
Yeah.
I would argue that's even darker than we're going to turn you into mice because we don't like you.
Maybe. I mean, if anything, it's just them trying to sustain themselves. A witch got to stay pretty, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
And sometimes kids have all this extra energy. Why not just bring them down a little bit?
Sure.
Why not keep yourself sustained for a little bit?
Sure.
You know?
I can see that.
Yeah. If I could eat the souls of children, I'd be like the Dexter of like soul stealing. I'd be like, you've been a bad kid.
Like you've got them wrapped in the plastic on the table.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's a disturbing image.
Yeah.
Just like Michael C. Hall leaning over them like...
Stealing all of their essence. But all these children are clothed.
Yes.
Every single child is clothed.
Very important.
Yeah.
Very, very, very important. No naked children.
No. Only the bad children.
Only the bad kids.
Yes.
I've seen your future. Dexter's a precog in this version too.
Of course.
He knows.
Yeah.
It's not what you've done, it's what you're going to do.
Will do.
And at a certain point he just gets real lax about it, and it's like what they might do. And then it's like he starts profiling people. Turns out Dexter's a huge racist.
Oh, yeah.
And the show takes an even darker turn. But it's very topical. Deals with some hot button issues.
Definitely.
Gets a lot of attention for it.
Mm-hmm.
But then, of course, there are a lot of think pieces about how its treatment of some of these issues was problematic.
Oh, it's always problematic. Oh, man. Because I like to imagine it's not even like just race. It's like he's like the Sherlock Holmes of this world, where he's like making all these assumptions based on like little details, and he's like, well, based on the way your hand is shaking, you must be an alcoholic, and you being an alcoholic, I can tell you're a family person, so you're destroying your family, and so all alcoholics are bad, and all families will be ruined by your actions, and now you must die, child. And it's like,
I'm 5.
Yeah.
What do those words mean?
Yeah.
Can I get off this table? I'm hungry.
Oh, man.
Are we there yet?
We will be there soon.
That's a weird sound you're making, mister.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep. We went down a rabbit hole.
There's some weeds. There we go. Jumping right in them.
I feel like there's a slim chance that someone who is listening to this podcast hasn't seen Hocus Pocus, but if they haven't, Lex Michael, what would you say this movie is about?
Ooh, it's about an actress named Bette Midler who showed up on set one day to play a witch and asked herself, how massively can I play this? And the answer was pretty massively.
Yeah, to the max.
And that's what this movie is all about. No, so if you grew up in the 90s, this movie, whether or not you were a massive fan, this movie was around. I feel like this movie was hyper present if you were a 90s kid.
Right.
So much so that people have internalized it, and it's since become almost a religion for some people. Like every October, almost as much as Halloween is a tradition, oh, I'm going to watch Hocus Pocus again this year, really is like, it's like a religious observance for some people.
Yeah.
And for the first time, I really got it. Like, I grew up with this movie too. I'm not a diehard like some folks, but I like it. I have a fondness for it because it was such a fixture in my childhood.
Yeah.
This is the first time, not that I had a religious awakening, but this is the first time I think I got why it was so easy for some people to make it such a fixture in their lives. It's a weird movie.
Yeah.
It's a weird movie. It's a silly movie. And there are moments that shouldn't play, but do because they're so specific. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, there's a specificity to every weird moment in this movie. And I think that's part of why it so resonates with people the way it does. Basically, the movie is about, again, if you're one of the like 3 people listening who don't know what Hocus Pocus is or is about, 3 witches, the Sanderson Sisters, 300 years ago, around the time of the Salem witch hysteria, they were sucking the souls out of little children in an effort to stave off old age and eventual death. They were hunted down by the townspeople of Salem. They were hanged. 300 years later, a virgin lights a black flame candle in their house, and they rise from the dead to seek vengeance on the children of Salem and to hopefully suck out all of their souls in an effort to, I guess, stay young and live forever, to suck out more souls from all of the children. Not a great long-term plan, because if it works, eventually you're going to run out of children and you'll still die.
Maybe.
But if you live long enough, maybe you live far enough into the hypothetical future where you can genetically engineer more and more and more and more children indefinitely. Or you go to a way darker place where the Sandersons have to set up like breeding farms.
That's true. Or, I mean, I think that if you do enough...
The breeding farms are not in the movie,
no,
by the way.
They're not.
The witches are ultimately defeated. If you were unsure whether or not this 1993 Disney family film ends in breeding farms, it doesn't.
Well, I think that gives...
The 3 people out there who haven't seen it are like, shit, I was in. And then you told me there are no breeding farms.
You gotta wait for the sequel. It's all in the sequel. Like, the Sanderson sisters come back again, and then, but they win from the beginning, and we're living in the world post Sanderson sisters.
Right.
And they're like the 3 empresses of this world, and they're like, bring more children, clap, 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 clap. And then they essentially just keep sucking their souls out. And at a certain point, they too are children, and then they have to suck their own souls out. Like, it becomes this like
it's like an Ouroboros. Yeah. Wow.
It's crazy. That's the sequel.
Wow. So it's like the human centipede of Disney family films.
Yeah, of course.
Pretty soon it's everybody just in a ring, ass to mouth, sucking each other's souls out. Oh, that's hideous.
Gross. I mean, I think that like, I don't think they'd ever really run out of children to consume, because I think that like the human spirit will always lead us to be like, we're gonna persevere, and even in this dire situation, let's get to fucking, and then they have kids.
My God, that's the sequel. Hocus Pocus 2, let's get to fucking.
Hell yeah. Or
it's like Disney realizes now they own at least 50% of the media market in the entire world. They can't fail. They go, whatever, fuck it. That is what we're going to call this movie, because we can now take infinite bullets and it will not hurt us.
Yeah. They're like, who's going to censor us? The FCC? We are the FCC.
We just bought the fucking FCC. We're good, guys. Like, go. Just title your movie. Title it like Princess and the Frog 2. Fuck you, shitstick. That's what we're doing.
I mean,
at least we get a Princess and the Frog 2.
Yeah.
It's just them sitting around like a cards table, smoking and drinking and swearing at each other. No coherent thoughts, just fuck. Like they're reacting to their hands and whatnot. It's like, fuck, shit, like stuff like that. That's the whole movie.
And Disney's like, you wanted more R-rated content? Well, here it is.
At one point, like arbitrarily, some dude just walks by in the background with his dick out every like 15 minutes or so. No one acknowledges it. He's just,
No, just like wanders.
He's back. If they do Hocus Pocus 2, that's how we bring back Doug Jones. We just have him walk. It's just the Billy again. He's even more decayed. But like he's just walking back. It's just background of shots.
Yeah.
Nobody's ever like, hey, they kind of know he's there, Yeah. They're not surprised. But just, back and forth. It's like Dr. Manhattan style. Like it's just swinging back and forth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's always better if no one really acknowledges it. Because you don't want to get too like self-referential.
Right.
You just want to let things exist. Treat your audience like they're adults. You don't want to handhold them.
Yeah.
You want to really let them discover that penis all by themselves.
Yeah. And like they could totally see a dick.
Yeah. And if they miss it, it gives rewatch value.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Like where in the frame is this dick?
It's all over.
It's like a Where's Waldo.
Yeah.
They paint his dick. They paint Doug Jones's dick like the red and white.
Yeah.
They put a little hat on it.
But is this the one without the shoe? Jeez.
Doug Jones, by the way, great, always great to see him. He's if you don't know who Doug Jones is, you should, and you probably know his work. Well known, well respected, beloved character actor, best known for playing kind of creature characters.
Yeah.
Collaborates with Guillermo del Toro a bunch. He played Abe Sapien in both Hellboy movies. David Hyde Pierce was the voice of Abe Sapien in the first movie. Second movie, Doug Jones got to voice the character he was physically playing.
Yeah.
But also, more recently, played the Fishman in The Shape of Water, which a lot of folks now have seen. So, like, if you've seen Shape of Water, he's the Fishman. Fishman was the zombie guy in Hocus Pocus. Whoa, mind blown.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, yes. You were saying? Something about breeding farms, I think it was?
I was saying that we wouldn't need them. I was saying that, like, the human spirit will lead us to always have children. Or they could just do one big feeding, hang out for, like, a few hundred years.
Yeah.
They're like, we're good for a couple hundred years, and then come back and be like, yeah, time for more children eating.
It's a good point. Like, if they live healthy lifestyles, right? Like, if they consume, let's say, I don't know, 50 children apiece, right? There's 150 kids. There are way more than 150 kids worldwide.
Yeah.
So let's say they consume the right. Maybe we don't really establish, like, I guess they de-age, but would they keep de-aging all the way back to, like, childhood? So now they have their adult witch brains, but in child bodies. If that's the case, and they then age as normal without consuming more, as long as you take care of yourself, that's a good, like, probably 70, 80 years.
Yeah.
And then at that point, like when your knee goes, you could be like, okay,
time for
another culling. Yeah.
Right. Or you just, like, do one big consumption. It's like how you might do a specific, like, diet where you front load a lot, and then throughout the day or throughout the decades, you just snack on a kid here and there.
Sure.
Like, I think that's the best strategy to go with. So, like, you're more sustained over time.
Isn't that kind of what a lot of dietitians will tell you? It's like you want to eat little meals daily, like multiple times, like spread out throughout the day, like little bits, as opposed to big meals.
Yeah. I mean, they don't usually tell you to, like, front load, but that's how I do it.
Right.
I'll eat, like, a big giant meal at the beginning of the day.
Man, that's that propaganda from the breakfast lobby.
I mean, I'm all about it. I'm the actual vice president of the breakfast lobby. And also the vice president of the breakfast meeting room and the breakfast.
What? Are you having a stroke right now?
No, wordplay. I just played with some words. But me and the Breakfast Coalition really want to make sure that everyone's consuming a healthy breakfast in the mornings. Whether you want to be very protein heavy or whether you want to get your grains and your dairies, just always make sure you're getting that delicious meal to start you off right and really jumpstart your metabolism. Breakfast. It's the most important meal of the day.
So this movie's got a talking cat in it.
Yes. So I feel like in our we kind of skipped over this little piece about like this kid Thackeray. Binks.
By the way, for many years I thought it must be Zachary with a Z because I was not aware that Thackeray with a TH is a name.
But it's cool. It's a cool way of naming someone.
Is it?
You know, it's not Zachary. My name's Zachary. Call me Zach. No, it's Thackeray. Hell yeah.
You just offended the entire Zachary demographic.
Yeah.
We were big with Zacharys
before
that moment.
Well,
we just
now we're big with Thackeray.
We alienated like 2/3.
We got to find our niche, and our niche is Thackeray's.
Thackeray Binks, thou mangy feline.
Oh man,
she plays it real big.
So an interesting thing about Thackeray is that the person who plays Boy Thackeray and the person who does the voice of Cat Thackeray are two different people.
Yes.
And which also for vocal consistency led them to ADR Boy Thackeray as well.
I will say I feel like they ADR'd it pretty well.
Yeah.
Like I feel like it's noticeable if you're looking for it for sure.
Right.
But if you're not, like I feel like if you're just watching casually, I feel like it plays. But the voice actor is Jason Marsden.
Yes.
Who like I know his voice from stuff like Lion King 2, Simba's Pride, where he was Kovu and whatnot.
Oh yeah. I know him. He did a lot of like Saturday morning cartoons.
He's Max in the Goofy movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's Richie from Step by Step.
That's right.
Yeah. So like he for his live action things, he's always like the short best friend. Like that's his live action persona. But like when it comes to his like voiceover library, he's all the kids. He's if you've ever watched a Saturday morning cartoon, he's been in it.
Yep.
Which is cool because like he did a really good job as the cat as well. Like I feel weird being like there was a lot of emotional delivery from that cat. But there was like I think he played it really well, and like the puppeteers did a really good job of conveying that as well. I know that I had read somewhere that they at first had the cat be very expressive and like have the like actual length of fangs that cats have, but it looked really sinister. And so they like shortened the fangs up and made the features a little softer.
Yeah.
So that kids wouldn't be terrified by this talking cat.
Right, who's supposed to be their friend.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought, we have some, by today's standards, maybe sort of rudimentary CG on the cat's face to kind of make him talk and make him sort of, express the way we need to express to see the emotion. But I think it works. Like that contributes so much to the performance is that even though it's a little bit they didn't it's not Andy Serkis doing motion capture as a cat.
Yeah.
But it works really well. I was actually really surprised by how well a lot of the effects that we would have just totally CG'd everything today. A lot of the effects hold up for me pretty well.
Yeah.
Like there's a shot late in the movie, and it's a pretty quick shot, but Winifred is on her broom alongside the car, and there's a shot, it cuts to kind of a shot behind them looking forward at them, and you see the broomstick flying alongside the car, and it's obvious that it's a composite, but it's a really effective composite. Not because you don't see the seams if you're looking for them, but because it's still, it feels so, I got nothing.
I mean,
you know what I'm going for. Yes, I see it on your face.
It still feels like tactile.
Yes.
So like what would be now like a full CGI dummy on top of like a CGI broom, and they just kind of like throw it on top of the picture. Like she's actually on a broom, like she's just in a rig in a different area, but like they come together because it's two separate real things in one shot. And so it feels like she's actually there.
Right.
Like you have to go out of your way to be like, oh yeah, good strings and CG. But like a lot of it is fairly practical, even if it is composite. Like there's the moment when Doug Jones opens his mouth and you see all those moths come out.
Which is a great moment.
Yeah.
And that's a really specific choice.
Right. And it's real. Like those aren't CGI moths. Like Doug Jones is like, I'm going to put moths in my mouth. I'm going to open it up and they're going to come out.
Along with all of this powdery stuff.
Right.
Which is, soot and dust and dirt from being buried for so many years.
Right. And so like they do a really good job of balancing the CG with the practical. And even when they do like, I'm doing air quotes like CG, it's specifically like hand drawn, like cell frames.
Yeah.
It's never like actual computer, because like back then like CG, like using computers wasn't super great. So they actually did like hand drawn CG, which is really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was the end of that.
that was the end.
Yeah.
Okay, I was like, this is really interesting. Tell me more. Yeah. Okay. So something that we have not talked about yet is the protagonists of the movie. What you're making a face?
I think that the protagonists are the least interesting part of the movie.
They're just sort of movie kids,
right? So like here are the things. So here are the protagonists. You have Max.
Yes, played by Omri Katz.
Yeah, and he's like the main boy in a new town.
Yes, Omri
classic
Katz.
90s trope.
Real quick. Omri Katz. I was like, what has he done outside of Hocus Pocus? Because I think if you've seen Hocus Pocus, he's Max from Hocus Pocus.
Yeah.
I wanted to look. I jumped on his Wikipedia. His big thing was pre Hocus Pocus. He was on Dallas for pretty much its entire run, as I think one of JR's sons.
Okay.
So he was the guy from Dallas before he was the guy from Hocus Pocus, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting.
So as you were saying, Max moves to a small town. Well, okay, yeah, it's a classic 90s trope. The small town in question, of course, very specifically being Salem, Massachusetts.
Right.
So I think I've mentioned to you, I lived in Salem for about a year.
Yeah.
And spent a bunch of time there when I wasn't living there while I was in Massachusetts. There are moments in this movie where it feels like Salem.
Yeah.
And those are, of course, the moments where we're doing exteriors kind of during the day, which is when they did actually film in Salem, Massachusetts, and in Marblehead, which is like the next town over. Mm-hmm. The rest of the movie was shot on sound stages in Burbank. And there are, again, like it doesn't take you out of the experience because it still very much fits the tone. But if you're looking, it's like, oh, right, there are a lot of shots where we're not really seeing the environment. We've got a street and we've got a couple of storefronts here.
Right.
But yes, the daytime exterior is shot in Salem and in Marblehead. But living in Salem for the year that I was there, like if you can imagine the Hocus Pocus diehards that actually live in the space, how much more hardcore they are likely to be about it.
Oh, I would imagine.
It's a lot.
There's like, because, there's a sense of like hometown pride in the same way that like everyone in this movie has like their like witchy hometown pride where they're like, haha, Sanderson Sisters, so cool.
Well, it's a big
you're
thing.
A skeptic, bro.
It's the big, like they're the witch city.
Right.
Like the town self-identifies as the witch city, and there's a big Wiccan community there, and there are all the old houses and the witch museums, and you can do the witch tours. There's a pirate tour. But that is all very authentic to Salem.
But it feels weird to me.
Well, it is weird.
Because
not a judgment weird, a weird like a fun weird, much like Hocus Pocus is. Like, I don't use weird as a pejorative in case it came off that way.
I was using it in a midway, in that like to be the witch city is to be like if you name a massacre and you're like, guys, we are Massacre City. I don't know if you guys know this, but we killed a lot of people unjustly. Like, oh my gosh, can you believe how many people died here? Wow.
2 points.
Yes.
Directly off of what you just said. So one, they're very specific about not calling them the Salem witch trials, but calling them the Salem witch hysteria, which is actually far more accurate because those weren't trials.
Right.
There were no real trial. Justice was not the goal. It was we can other this person and kill them with no consequence.
Right.
So they're very specific about that, which I actually think is kind of cool. And probably the right call.
Yeah.
Just so we know what we're talking about. The other thing, and I think it's really funny that you say it's really odd to want to own that so much. Based on what I came to understand while I was there, and somebody will correct me if I'm mistaken, but to the best of my understanding, most, if not all of that, took place in what is now Danvers, not Salem.
Interesting.
So they owned some stuff that isn't even necessarily all theirs.
But that's even weirder.
I mean, I guess all of it maybe was Salem at the time.
Yeah.
But if it was me, I'd be like, yeah, you're still sharing this with us. Like it still did happen there. You call yourselves whatever you want. You could call yourself New Justiceville, and you got to shoulder some of this with us.
Nope, they're like, Salem, that's where all that bad stuff happened. Not here. Oh, man.
And that's the end of that chapter.
They're like, we're Danvers, like Supergirl, you know? You guys like superheroes, right?
We're renaming the town Candor.
Oh, man. So I thought that was interesting.
I like that there was no joke in what I just said. There was just a reference, and we both giggled anyway.
Because, you know,
it's like, I know what that is.
It's a moment of connect. Also, there's the irony that, like, Candor is the lost city, and you're just like, yep, we're Candor. Can't find us. Ooh.
We're gonna own this thing instead of that thing.
Yeah, they're like, oh, you know, when Krypton was going down, we were like, we gotta get out of here. So, you know, we weren't into that bad stuff, like bad environmental taken care of. We're Candor. We're so much better than the rest of the area. Yep, that's Candor. Welcome to Candor, where you can endure the injustice. Hey, it was this Candor.
Who is this? Is this the mayor of Candor? Why does he sound like that?
This is someone from former Salem, now Candor City.
Sounds like the owner of a pizzeria.
Hey, don't stereotype
like
me.
A New York like hole in the wall pizzeria, and he's been doing it for like 30 years.
Yeah,
but he's like real surly, and most of his diet is his product.
Of course.
Yeah,
he's like, I eat vegetables. They're on the pizza.
That and like meatball subs. Only pizza, meatball subs, and cigarettes.
Oh,
that's
geez. it. So we were talking about the protagonist, and we were talking about Max, and so there's this really big piece of this movie where everyone is really harping on the fact that Max is a virgin, and like Max is like maybe 14 or 15, and everyone's like, yo, you ain't fucking yet? Like, what's up? Hey, you ain't got down in some vagina, yo, or some butthole? I don't know what your sexual orientation is. Like
actual dialogue from the film.
Yeah. It's weird. And
it's
most of it's from his little sister.
Yeah.
His little sister's like,
played by Thora Birch.
Yeah. And so his little sister is the other protagonist, and she the first moment you meet her is when she's hiding in his closet when he's definitely about to like jerk it to this girl he just met. And she comes out and she's like, oh, you're thinking about this one girl and how hot she is? Treat me like that girl. And I'm like, no.
I mean, she was making fun of him, but yes, it's weird, but honestly, it's lightened for me because this is one of the relatively rare films about kids where the kids they cast actually read more or less as the ages they're supposed to be.
Yeah.
Like especially Danny, the sister's name, right? That's her name?
Yeah.
I just watched this again. The Thora Birch. That's her character's name.
Danny Dennison.
It's Thora Birch, that's what he says in the entire movie.
Yeah. I can't believe you.
Right, at a certain point, they gave up trying to get Omri Katz to call her by her character name. It's just like, all right, well, it's Thora Birch in the script now. But she, of course, she reads like the age she's supposed to be, so it made it feel less weird because it felt very much like the way a little girl might make fun of her older brother.
Right. Yes, but that also made her super insufferable.
Yes, this is a big thing for a lot of people. Even people who love the movie find her far, far too grating for their palate.
A little, I think that it's just that, and maybe it's because I find 8-9-year-olds insufferable. Maybe that's a thing I'm learning about myself.
Sure.
But like, there's this moment when they go into Allison, who is the love interest, her party, and one of the first things that the little sister says is, "Oh, you're Allison. My sister my brother said he loves your I don't remember what the weird
what
name.
Is it? Yabos?
Yabos. He's like, yeah. My brother said he really loves your yabos, which is like the weirdest way of being like, yo, my brother thinks about your breasts all the time. He's like, I almost caught him earlier, just about to touch himself to your breasts. And it's like, wow, let's end this now.
Yep. Yeah, let's shut this down a little bit.
And because I think another piece of it is that, like, there are also these, there's this other moment where she says something to the effect of, like, be a man and do this thing. And it's like, honey, don't perpetuate that stuff. Don't do this.
Granted, on the one hand, she's like, what, 7 or something? And this is 1993? Yeah. We were less woke in 1993.
It's true. I mean, so this movie was originally written in 1984, and it was shelved for a really long time. Because like the writers wanted Spielberg to do it, and Spielberg was like,
"That's right,
I'm not working with Disney. Right, I'm my own thing."
Right, because he saw it as competition or a competitor for Amblin.
Yeah,
if I remember correctly.
So like I think it definitely has like the 80s sensibilities. 80s was very sex crazed. Like it was all about
everybody was coked up, dude.
Oh, dude, like
everybody was coked up all the time.
Well, yeah, but especially in like teen movies where it's all about like the kid trying to lose his virginity and become a man and all that stuff.
Have you watched Revenge of the Nerds lately? It's rapey.
It's very rapey.
It's rapey.
Yeah. And like even what's the movie with Anthony Michael Hall where he gets the girl's panties and all that stuff?
Oh,
I want to say it's either 16 Candles.
I think it's 16 Candles.
Yeah. And like even that, it's like, oh, troublesome. So like I get that like the 80s sensibility of like everyone like virgin shaming is like a big thing. I just feel like it goes real far, and they should have really tried to like write that out of the movie.
Which is interesting because I guess they do mention the virgin thing a lot. They don't throw it in his face that often. It didn't feel to me. When they throw it in his face, they throw it in his face.
Right.
But yes, they do keep bringing up the virgin thing without necessarily being like, you're a virgin, ha ha ha, stupid bitch.
I mean, there is this one moment when they meet the fake cop, and the fake cop is like, get on the curb. Hey, you a virgin?
Right.
And they like sit in that for like 30 seconds, and he's like, gross. Or like, he doesn't, I don't think
like,
he says
you dumb
gross.
bitch.
Yeah.
You virgin, you must be stupid.
Yeah, he's like, I'm fucking all the time.
Kicks and throws him through the storefront window. If you weren't a virgin, this wouldn't have happened to you, Max.
How do you know my name?
He starts like waving his arms and he flies off into the sky, like backwards, flies off into the sky. Like, what the fuck? Who the fuck was that guy?
I thought he was a cop. Bye. Oh, jeez.
And then you hear like from way off in the distance, dumbass. Max spends the rest of the movie crying.
Aww.
Like he still goes through all the business, but he's just like
yes. So we meet these very specific conditions that are mostly propelled by Max's virgindom, but like they list out all the different things that are needed to bring the Sanderson sisters back. Like it has to be on Halloween.
Right.
It has to be during a full moon.
Right.
It has to be a virgin.
Right.
And then one more, which I don't remember. But all of these things need to be met in order for the Sanderson sisters to come back. And then they only have that one day in order to get some children's souls. Otherwise, they're going to die by sunup.
Yes.
So if someone had lit the candle on
like November
Halloween
1st.
Day, on November 1st, no deal.
Right.
Not a full moon, no deal.
But you're right, like even daytime on Halloween.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, no, yeah. Because it was nighttime when they were there.
Yeah.
Because the sun burns them up. So it had to be nighttime when they were there. So
Right.
yeah, they could have done it at like 1:30. Nothing would have happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So crazy times.
Or like if it was what is Jay and Ernie, clearly those guys fuck a lot.
Oh,
if it was one of them, nothing would have happened.
I mean, I'd like to imagine that Jay and Ernie are a really nice, like, couple. Like I ship them hard.
And it was like it was a more conservative time. And so they feel like they have to do the toxic masculinity thing.
Oh, of course.
To sort of shield themselves from the harsh judgment of an ignorant society.
Yeah. Like, and you see it in their first interaction where blonde kid's like, yo, this is Ernest. And Ernest is like, honey, I told you I'm going by ice now. And he's like, oh, I'm sorry, honey, I forgot. I totally forgot. I didn't mean to. Let me do this again, okay? Is that okay?
Right.
And he's like, thank you. And he's like, yo, my name's Ice. And it's like this really cute couple moment. You're like, yeah.
They're definitely there for each other. They definitely kind of pick up each other's vibe, and they play off each other really well.
Yeah.
Like, nobody yes-ands like Jay and Ernie yes-and.
Oh, yeah. Like there's that moment when they're stealing people's candy.
Right.
And, like, they're basically just doing bits. And, like, the other is laughing so hard because it's like you imagine it's bits that they do at home. Like, because Ernie is he's just mocking Max. He's like just repeating what he says in a weird way.
Right.
And
but he works on that voice at home. He works on the voice.
He definitely does.
The moment where they're like, Hollywood, oh no, and they grab each other and both go, oh, you know, they practice that shit at home and they're just waiting for a time to like bust it out.
Right, of course.
Yeah, it's like, well, when do we get to mock somebody as if we're supposed to be scared, but we're not? Let's have one ready to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like you always, if you're an actor and you're auditioning, you always want to have a monologue in your back pocket.
Totally.
You know what I mean? At least one. So they've got a bunch of these. It's like, all right, we got to work on the timing, because wouldn't it be embarrassing if like we jumped into each other and like missed, like your hand went into my shoulder instead or something? So let's work out all the kinks ahead of time so that we're ready to go. We're show ready.
Yeah. It's interesting because I actually imagine it being more that like they do that together all the time. Like anytime, like when they're hanging out, it's like one of the, you know, like when you're a long-term couple, you develop all these like inside jokes.
Yes.
That like no one else gets. And
right.
You're just like, it's just you and I. So like, I like to imagine that when they're hanging out, like maybe one of them will see a mouse and they'll be like, oh no. And it's like a cute little thing that they do. And then they did it together in front of this guy. And he's like, this is just weird. And they're like, oh no, he's not in on the joke. Let's take his shoes.
That's their panic response, is to steal shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really, yeah.
It's a sweet story.
It is.
And they're together in the easy times and the hard times.
Mm-hmm.
Like they end the movie, they literally end the movie in cages.
Yeah.
Which is actually pretty messed up if you think about it. Like as far as Max knows, he takes his shoes back and leaves them to die.
Yeah.
And kind of laughs about it. He's like, tubular. You're going to get, at best, you're going to get stabbed in the throat.
Yeah.
Awesome.
You guys deserve this. I mean.
It's actually, it's the subtext is that Max is a virulent homophobe.
Oh, of course,
and
he
has no compunction.
Oh no, not at all.
About othering folks and treating them as lesser. But they persevere in the end. They do survive.
Yeah.
Presumably somebody's going to go back there to like, because it's a museum. I mean, it's a shut down museum.
Yeah.
But presumably eventually somebody's going to like walk past that area. Like there's a hiking trail nearby, I think.
Yeah.
As long as, you know, they do it soon. They'll be found.
I mean, humans can go without eating for like at least a week. And like, so I think that like they'll definitely be found before they starve to death. Like maybe they'll get tetanus from those cages, but like other than that, they mostly just have to wait until like the police show up because there was a break-in. And then like I assume at some point someone will be like, we gotta go, stupid kids did the thing, and whoever owns the museum will go in and find these two kids and be like, "Bah, fucking kids doing pranks on Halloween."
Yo, Frank, found a couple of dead kids in here. This story actually is a very tragic ending.
But they died holding hands.
No, oh my God, no. They can graze fingertips, but they can't touch.
Oh, no. Come on.
It's horrible.
Like, I try to bring light into this whole situation,
crushing
and you
movie.
just take it away.
This is a crushing movie, but very bold for 1993.
Oh, man. I want to talk about the sisters themselves.
Yes.
For me, they were the highlight of this movie.
They're the whole movie.
Yes.
They are, I mean, it's the entire, Bette Midler's performance and the pure size of Bette Midler's performance is the movie.
Yeah.
I mean, that's by far what everybody thinks of first. There's almost no other element that's worth discussing in comparison. The whole thing is how big she chooses to play this character.
Well, yeah. I mean, and I think that also the way that they are essentially like the Three Stooges in witch form.
Yes. So this brings up a really interesting point. So I watched this again. I watched it this morning in preparation for the show. And I've seen it so many times. Was watching it with my girlfriend, who obviously is the same age range. So it was also a big thing when she was growing up. But she never got it the way other people got it. And we started talking about why. It's the kind of movie where like everybody would be hyper obsessed. And when everybody else was talking about it, she would just kind of be quiet. We started exploring the reasons that might be. And apparently she was identifying so much with the kids, with the protagonist, that she was actually considering everything that happens in the movie and how legit horrifying this stuff is. And it occurred to me that it had never occurred to me to read into it that way, because the witches being such over-the-top cartoons always robbed it of any real like visceral, truly scary stakes.
Yeah.
It feels very much like nobody is taking it too seriously.
Right.
In a way that always kept me from going, no, like they're going to eat these two kids. And Max just left them to die because they bullied him.
Yeah.
That's pretty dark.
It's true. I mean, I think that, like, I started to feel that when I was watching it the other day, like, just the moment that they return and how, like, after he lights the candle, like, the ground starts to swell and they come sweeping in such a boisterous way. And, like, everyone's hiding and they're just like, I smell children. Like, there's such a... like they come in like a whirlwind, and there is a very terrifying aspect about it. Especially this idea of going from not believing that witches exist to having like literally just raised the dead.
Right.
And then no one believing you because it's such a far-fetched concept.
Right. Like that was something else that really tripped her up watching the movie, was how horrifying it would be to know this thing is true and no one believing you.
Yeah.
And not just not believing you, laughing right in your face about it.
Right.
And that's what makes that moment the moment where we lead into, of course, like, if you got Bette Midler in your movie, have her do a number. When we're leading into that turn, like what kind of motivates her to do this song and dance is he tries to out them in front of everybody. And it's this moment where, like, if you really read between the lines, it must be this awful dark moment for Max, because he realizes, oh my God, no, they're turning this back on me. Everybody's laughing at me. Everybody all of a sudden not just doesn't fear them, but like loves them now. Mm-hmm. They just made a room full of not just friends, but fans. This backfired about as hard as it possibly could have.
Yeah. Oh, man. And then, like, that cop comes back down from his flying position. It is like,
he's clearly turning into a bird gradually. He's like a weird bird person hybrid. What?
The cop comes back and he's just like, didn't work out for you, dumbass? Just like having sex. Hey,
if you weren't a virgin, you'd be smarter. Everyone would have hated that song. Fuck you, Max. Smacks him with a wing.
But it's true, because like I've always had an issue with this song and dance number.
Really? Why?
Because it bothered me that like I like it in a vacuum. It's
a great number in a vacuum.
It is, but I don't like it as part of the movie, in that like they spend a lot of time at the front end being like, what's a road? What's a bus? What's this? How does everything work? Are these goblins?
Are you hung up on how does she know the song?
Yes.
Okay. I had this same question forever, and this is the very first time that it occurred to me. The dude starts singing it and then continues to sing it in the background while like they're trying to warn their parents or whatever. So now what I guess canon is she, because she was looking right at him. Yeah. She listened to about a verse of the song, internalized it so completely that she could then riff an entire number accurate to what the full song sounds like based on that one verse or so.
Right. But then also her sisters, who are canonically inept, jump in and are like, can we get these two mics? Tight. All right.
But I feel like they take all their cues from Winifred to begin with. So when she's up there, as soon as she goes, you like wags her finger like, come here, they're going to do it. They probably, I feel like they're very stupid, but they work as a unit because they're just intuitive enough to follow the smarter sisters lead. Okay. The movie, this is part of why too, the stakes never felt real to me, is because they're all canonically not that smart.
Right.
Winifred is smarter than the other two, but think about at the end where they have to get the book and they trick them by making the light, making them think, daylight savings time. It clearly isn't working because it's not the real sun. It can't possibly be working.
Yeah.
Nothing is happening to them. But they are all so quickly duped, and they so just take at face value that they're going to die now, that they all fall to the ground like, ah! And they just lay there for a few minutes, I guess, waiting to die.
Right.
Not that smart a collective. But because Winifred is just smart enough, and because I totally buy... all right, we can headcanon, like, they're all sort of magically connected as well, and they can sort of feel each other, and, like, singing is sort of something that plays into what they do.
Right.
That part of it is...
I guess so.
We're also, we're not in movie reality anymore once that happens. We're in this weird kind of meta reality at that point.
Right. I mean, and I guess when you explain it that way, there's this moment earlier in the movie where they're casting that spell on Thackeray, and she starts, and then they also kind of jump in. Yeah.
Yeah. And two, when they're being hanged, she's like, "Sisters, sing!" And they start. It sounds really more like a chant at a certain point than a song, but that sort of plays into what their shtick is. Yeah. We do hit when they sing in that scene, I think. And somebody's like, "No, don't listen to them. Cover your ears, whatever."
Yeah.
Same thing in the scene, the "I Put a Spell on You" scene, where Danny's like, "No, don't listen to them." And I guess the implication being you'll be hexed if that happens. But we never really explore what the consequence of listening to the song is, other than I guess if you read into it, you get hexed. Presumably that's why the parents, maybe they'd be stuck at the party forever.
Yeah.
Because you got to dance until you die. So I guess maybe that was the effect. Now they're all hexed, and now they'll be dancing forever.
Right.
All right.
I mean, well, yeah, because they
so would they have danced forever in Salem in the 1800s?
Well, I don't think that was the spell. I think in the 1800s?
Whenever, 1700s.
Yeah, the whatever.
1600s. Dinosaurs.
Yeah. Back in the dinosaurs, I think the dinosaurs would have came in and they would have been like, "It's time to dance." No.
What? Who is this?
That's the dinosaur.
Is that the choreographer?
Hey guys, I'm a dinosaur and I'm here to dance, and I just hope you guys like the dance that I'm doing, and I hope that you guys pick me to be your favorite dinosaur. And it's right before the meteor comes down, and he's like,
"You
all right,
booked
guys."
it." Yeah.
Go.
Oh, that sucks.
Died happy.
Yeah, at least
I
in
can
his
take
final
the light away too.
But that's true. But that's true though. His final moments were of validating success.
Yeah.
So worse ways.
Or
plus the meteor must have been quick.
That's true. Unless Dinosaur Simon was waffling and he's like, "Well, that was absolutely dreadful. Unless you were intending to make me feel good about myself." And then, but you only got halfway through it.
Right. He was going to pull a reversal on you, but you only got up to you got the setup, but you never got the turn, and then your life ended. So in your final moments, it was actually a crushing repudiation of everything you dreamed about. So actually, you'd invite the meteor at that point, I would think.
Exactly.
So it's a win-win.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, all right. So that definitely tracks enough for me. Actually, because that tracks enough for me, I'm kind of happy they didn't stop the movie cold to explain what was happening, because it's there.
Yeah, it's all there.
So it does enough. There's enough there that it informs that number happening.
Yeah.
It does feel real modern.
Mm-hmm.
In compared to everything else that we've seen from them before and we'll see from them afterwards.
Right.
It does feel like, yes, we definitely stopped the movie to give Bette Midler a number here. But A, I think that number works like gangbusters in a vacuum. And B, there's enough that the rest of the movie offers that contextualizes it to a degree that I'm okay with it.
Okay.
On top of which, I'm so goddamn familiar with it being there.
Right.
I keep stepping on you. I apologize.
No, you're fine.
Can we edit that out so I look like less of an asshole?
Nope. It all stays.
Damn it.
It all stays.
Can you lower one track if that happens?
I could.
Yeah, you could, but you don't.
I could.
But you don't.
Yeah.
All right.
I don't know.
So this is why no one likes me, Tari.
Everyone likes you. They're like, "Keep Tari from talking. He just says bullshit." Did you hear the Dinosaur Simon thing? Keep him from saying more. No. I like. So, do you want to know what my favorite part of the movie is?
Very much.
It's when we first meet the bus driver, and the witches. He's like being real flirty with the witches, and they're like, "We're looking for children," and he's like, "It may take me a couple tries, but I'm willing to do it." And I like this idea that this bus driver's like, I'm going to have sex with all three of you guys, and I'm going to put babies in you, and you're never going to see me again.
Yeah, I mean, this dude, we both, girlfriend and I, really reacted to this as well. Again, something I'd never thought of before. I was like, oh, okay, like as a little kid, I was like, oh, okay, he's like hitting on them, whatever. And I didn't really think about what he was saying.
Yeah.
Because you could, if you're a little kid, you could, or if you're a parent of a little kid, and they ask you about that line, you could explain it away as like, well, they're looking for kids, and it's like, it's Halloween, so it's like, well, it may take me a couple of tries to find where the kids are.
Right.
You know, but no, that's not what he means.
No.
I actually think this actor is great in this tiny part. And again, I think the choices he's making as an actor, real specific.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that is why the witches are so beloved as well. Like, and I think that's why all the performances are beloved in this movie, because like there's never a moment when people are just kind of like there. People are always doing things. They're always so there's this the shot that really comes to mind for me is when Bette Midler is doing a very she's being like not melodramatic, but she's doing a big thing. And in the background,
I think melodramatic is not inaccurate.
Yes,
there are definitely shades of that.
Right. But she's having a fit. And so you have her doing that. You have Mary trying to comfort her.
I was going to say, I need more specific than she's having a fit, because that could be at least 70% of the scenes in this movie.
But it's like it's when they're right outside the cemetery, and you have Mary trying to comfort her, and then you have Sarah Jessica Parker in the background trying to climb the fence.
Yes.
And it's just like everyone's doing something. Everyone's an active participant in these scenes, and that's how it is in just about every scene in this movie.
Yes.
Like everyone is being so specific and being so heightened in their performance, but they're also always constantly making choices and just doubling down on them.
Yes, the witches are absolute cartoons, but they are played with such detail and such precise, specific decision making that these cartoons they really do feel like living, breathing people.
Yeah.
I mean, people is maybe strong. They're still very cartoony.
Right.
But they feel real. They feel present, and they feel like so much more than what I must assume these characters were on the page.
Right.
Because on the page, they just read as kind of dumb, goofy witches, I would think.
Yeah.
But once you add the layer of these actresses, or this entire cast really, bringing life to these roles and making the choices that they made, again, these really, really, really hyper-specific, weird choices.
Yeah.
In the case of Bette Midler, real weird choices and real big choices, but I'm it's like the 1,000th time I've used the word specific, but so very specific and unique.
I mean, I really one of my favorite Bette Midler isms is how aggressively she rolls her R's.
Yes.
She'll be like, and it makes me happy, because it's one of those things that when you're trying to be super refined, that might be a way that you do, and it's
right.
It makes
as in how droll.
Yes.
I'm too dry.
But it's also
2 hours of that.
It's informative about the character in that Winifred being the smart sister,
right?
Means that she's always putting on airs, and she's always trying to appear better than her other sisters, which is another reason why she would try to put that extra roll in her R's and try to look more sophisticated. So it's it's such a layered choice.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, agreed. Turns out Bette Midler's good at acting.
What?
I know.
Crazy. Even with big giant teeth in her face.
Right, the teeth.
Yep.
Those teeth. I hope those teeth. I didn't look. I hope those teeth got a separate credit.
Oh yeah, totally. If headless Bill can get his own credit, then Bette Midler's teeth can also.
The teeth were played by I don't know, like a real young Ryan Gosling.
Yeah.
Is it the Disney connection? He was a Mickey Mouse Club kid.
Totally. Yeah. And also, the teeth also don't eat cereal. Boom.
Right.
Really weird,
super
reference.
dated meme joke.
Oh, yeah.
But two, you talk about the teeth, right? The look of these characters has become so iconographic.
Yeah.
That's a word.
Yeah.
Totally. Iconography.
Yeah. Iconography. So
right.
What?
It feels too clunky to be a word.
All right.
We should find a new word for iconographic.
You could shorten it by going, it's become iconic.
Yes, that's we found it. We found a better word for this. Yes, it has become so iconic. And it's really just these characters. There isn't too much else in terms of iconography that is completely unique to this movie. Yeah. Black cats exist in other stories. Zombies obviously exist in other stories. The book is essentially the Necronomicon, which exists in other stories.
Right.
But the look, the character design, the hair, the makeup, the costumes on these witches has become so iconic, and it stands. They really feel like it's almost like how I feel watching a Marvel movie. Mm-hmm. And seeing like, wow, it's like a comic book character come to life. It really does feel like watching, in the case of the Sanderson Sisters, like we took something that is so uniquely designed and so detail-oriented and so unique, and I said unique twice, didn't I? We'll edit one out.
Sure.
Yeah, you're like, no, I'm not going to do that. It really does. It feels like a character that I knew already stepped out of another medium and into this one.
Yeah.
Does that make any kind of sense at all?
No, yes, it makes perfect sense. Because it's something that when you're making a character, when you're doing character design, they say that like something that you will help you know if your character stands out or is unique enough is if people can recognize it as a silhouette.
Yep.
And these characters, I think that like they specifically, you could recognize them as a silhouette as individuals, also as a group. Like you could, the way that their characters like move and are shaped, and also just like the way that their like dresses are flown and sewn together, like they make them so unique.
Yeah.
And so like replicatable, that like, and so recognizable. So like even when you see you see the kids who are dressed as the Sanderson Sisters in the movie,
right?
You're like, yes, that is them, because it's so specific.
Yes, exactly. I have no problem believing that if I saw like the Winifred Sanderson design in silhouette,
yeah,
assuming that like her arms were splayed out or something, and you could see the fabric on her cloak and kind of the way it splays out when she does that.
Yeah.
Because if she's standing like really kind of hunched up with the hair, you might think it was Dracula. But if you see the cloak, especially if you have like you see the hairstyles of her sisters on either side, and all you see is silhouette, I have no problem buying that you would be able to identify them as the Sanderson Sisters.
Yeah, of course.
That's good design.
Oh yeah.
That's good. You could play Who's That Pokemon with them and win every time.
Damn.
It's the Sanderson Sisters.
Hey, it's that guy again.
Yeah, Gary Marshall and Penny Marshall show up for a scene in this movie where, for whatever reason, they invite all three Sanderson sisters into their home.
I mean, I think he was also trying to hit.
Yeah.
I think like he and the bus driver, like they both had the same idea, and he's like, "Yo, honey, let's get some goodness going in here."
It's the pizzeria owner.
That's what he sounds like. Hey, I don't know. Anyways, but I think that he was just like, yo, I'm going to get these three girls in here. I'm going to get the youngest one off on her own, and I'm going to dance with her, and I'm going to be like, yo, you want to play a little devil and witch tonight?
Right, and they call him Master because they assume because he's wearing a bright red like leotard devil outfit that he must be the actual Satan.
Right, of course. Why wouldn't they think that? I mean, they've canonically been to hell, so that's what he must look like.
That's the other thing too. She's got a line, right? Bette Midler's got a line towards the end of the movie where Billy's like, "Go to hell," and she's like, "Oh, I've been there, thank you. I find it quite lovely."
Yeah.
So why are you so worried about dying? Wouldn't you just go back to hell, a place you yourself profess to like a great deal?
I mean, but it's one thing to be just another person in hell,
right?
But it's a cool thing to be like powerful on Earth, you know?
Right. Like part of it is just the malice of it. Part of it is just like the lust for power, and part of it too, I suppose, is if you go back to hell, you don't want to go back with your tail between your legs, being like, yeah, 3 kids and a cat. So derailed the whole fucking thing. And everybody's going to laugh like, ha, 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 ha. If you weren't virgins, you wouldn't be so dumb. And they're like, where'd that come from? He's even
like
more
bird.
Wow. The virgin shaming bird isn't the character we thought would pop the most from this movie, but he's getting at least 3 spinoffs.
Yeah, totally.
It's a good thing we signed the bird actor for 7 pictures.
And even in the sequel, like there's a narration that starts the whole thing, and then at the end you find out it's just the bird guy, and he lights his lighter the same way that Max does, and he lights a cigarette and he's like, "Fucking virgins," and it flies away. Yep, that's how it works.
And you find out at the end of the movie, the twist you reveal in the sequence, the bird is Max from the future. Like the fake cop who becomes the bird is future Max.
Yep.
And he's so bitter about all of the choices that led him to that point that he actively shames himself. He looks at his younger self. It's like when you're truly controlled by your self-loathing, looking in the mirror, like looking at yourself, you just feel this anger. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
It just brings back up all of these feelings of like regret and anger and failure. And so he just hops around the timeline as he slowly turns into a bird.
Yeah.
Finding himself and berating himself over and over and over and over.
Ooh,
he's
dark.
like, right. It's pretty horrifying.
Oh,
it's
man.
a good movie.
Yeah, it's a really good movie. There's actually an anime that if I said which one it is, it spoils it. But like, there's an anime with a similar premise that is really interesting. Actually, a few. It's a big anime trope, I'm realizing. Huh. That's crazy. This is crazy.
Like, oh my God, it's there. It's there. The seeds are there in this movie, right? Like his little sister shaming his lack of perceived stereotypical masculinity, and how like he blames that. And he never learned to grow past the toxic masculinity. So the only way he knows how to try and alter the course of his life is to belligerently virgin shame his younger self.
Oh, jeez.
Us.
Yeah. I mean, but like, you know, dear future Max, just like teach yourself how to be comfortable with yourself, you know, teach yourself how to be ready to love, and you won't have to worry about it. Teach yourself that it's okay to be a virgin, bro. Come on.
He's also still probably pretty messed up. Once he got old enough to realize the implications of leaving Jay and Ernie to die. And now he's directly responsible for the deaths of these 2 kids. That weighs on him too.
Yeah.
But he doesn't go back and do anything about that.
No, of course not.
Just berates and tears down his younger self for it.
In his future, Jay and Ernie are president and vice president, and so him leaving it really ruined the future. Really just like destroyed everything, and he's been trying to fix it by like shaming himself into doing the right thing, and he's like, nope, not gonna happen.
Oh my God. Like, no, like in my head, right? In the future, Jay and Ernie are dead. Like they died there.
Well, but in his future, because like there's always an initiating future,
right? So right. So what the future's supposed to be is they go on to usher in an era of world peace, perfect unity and harmony for all people.
Yeah.
But this timeline, Max left them to die, and they did.
Uh-huh.
But instead of fixing that, right, like he just goes back and he's just angry, he hates himself. He carries the guilt and the shame and the bitterness, and he just goes back and virgin shames himself. It's like self-flagellation.
Right. Yeah. That's how it works.
Yeah.
We are running out of time. Do you have any last thoughts about Hocus Pocus?
Yeah, the other thing outside of the virgin shaming, the other thing he takes a whole bunch of flack for is being from California.
Uh-huh.
Like even from the teacher.
Yeah.
Teacher's like, oh, well, Tell us, Max, from your California laid-back tie-dye perspective.
I mean, so being from the East Coast, do you feel as aggro about people from the West as they do?
No. No. I mean, look, I would feel kind of bummed if you came into my class with that bad an attitude, I guess, sure. But no, it wouldn't be your point of origin that caused the chagrin. It would be, we're all having fun. We're all having fun in this room. Why you gotta shit all over everything? And then potentially embarrassing Allison by hitting on her in front of the entire class, which was super not cool of him.
Yeah. I mean, but that's how we Californians are. We're super duper bold, bro.
Do you feel that you have a California laid-back tie-dye perspective?
Oh my gosh. So I'm wearing a tie-dye shirt right now.
I feel like I couldn't pull off tie-dye, if I'm being totally honest.
I've had one tie-dye shirt in my existence. That's because I was an RA and they made me make it.
Right. I feel like if it was like it leaned green or teal, I could maybe work with it. Like, I feel like my eye color would kind of complement.
Yeah.
But not like if it was like the red and yellow and like the white and like the bright colors, I think I would look sickly.
Maybe. I mean, I think that I do eat lots of avocado and oranges, so like, that's a thing. I keep my vitamin C real high. Hell yeah. Vitamin C you later, asshole. That's the California way. It's our state motto. California, vitamin C you later, asshole.
It's not that inviting. We might want to talk to
get out.
Tourism.
Just go home. If you ain't from here, don't come here.
That's unfortunate.
It's the California way.
Oh man. That also the fact that
a sanctuary state.
Yep. I also like that Ernie and Jay don't know what Los Angeles is. They know LA, but they don't know that it stands for Los Angeles.
Yeah, I mean, maybe they think it stands for Los Altos.
Do people call Los Altos LA?
People from Northern California do, because they're weird.
That's super confusing.
Yeah, people from Los Altos will call it LA. I know this because I lived with a guy who was from there and did that.
Yeah?
Yeah.
That's confusing.
It is.
I don't like it. Change it. Okay. Change your behavior for me.
I will call him. Maybe he listens to this. But yeah, okay. But would you recommend this to other people? Do you think that it is as classic as everyone says?
I would be super curious to see how it plays to somebody who's 10 years old now.
Yeah.
Because I don't know. I don't know what, like, in the age of YouTube and social media, I have no clue what has happened to the brains of children. So maybe this doesn't play at all anymore. But if you grew up in the 90s and you somehow missed this movie, aren't you at least a little bit curious to see what everybody's been talking about? What you've been, wait for it, missing out on?
Ooh.
That's why we get paid nothing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think it was a staple of 90s, like early 90s family cinema. I think for that reason alone, it's worth checking out. But it's really fun. And even though you might not walk away from it going, this movie's the real Citizen Kane, I think you got to tip your hat to the effectiveness and the specificity of the choices.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think that, like, I personally don't think it would play with, like, the younger crowd. I mean, I think that, like, if they're super young, like maybe like 5, 6, it might be okay. Like, it might be something they enjoy just because of the, like, cartoonish nature of the performances. I think that, like, as you start getting into, like, 8 to lower teens, I think that they'll just keep asking why no one is using their cell phone to talk to their parents, and like I don't think that they're
wait. You assume that now kids don't understand how time works and technology?
Yeah. That's what because like they grew up. I don't mean to be like an old person, but like they grew up always having that technology. So like I feel like in the same way that all horror movies are, or all like slasher films are usually would be ruined by the existence of cell phones, I feel like some older movies, they like the what is it called? Suspension of disbelief is sometimes not there.
I guess, but when I was a little kid, I never watched a Western going, where are their cars?
I did.
Did you?
I was like, why aren't they there? Get them Model T4s in this bitch.
So much faster if you just drove a car.
Yeah. They were like, I'm going to go get my Mustang. And I was like, yeah, boy.
And then I saw Back to the Future Part 3, and I was like, that's the shit I've been talking about. There's a car in this one. This guy's smart. And then it doesn't run.
Yep.
Mm.
I'm just saying. I just feel like the suspension of disbelief, it wouldn't be there. But why don't you guys tell me?
Right.
Why don't you tell me?
Let us know if
Yeah.
you really don't understand the concept of technology evolving over time.
Like if you're a kid, let us know. If you're a parent, show it to your kid. Let us know how they reacted.
Yes.
Go on to Twitter. Hit us up at Missing Outcast, MissingOutcast, and let us know. Let us know how your kids, or if you are a kid, let us know what you think of Hocus Pocus, and if it like resonates with you. Or if you're a grown-ass adult and you just never saw it, let us know how you feel about it.
I really want to know, like, if you were a 90s kid and you missed it and you come to it now for the first time, I really want to know how it plays.
Yeah.
So if you're listening and that's you, say something to us.
Say something.
I was like, you know what? There's a real smooth segue here, and I'm going to go the other way with it. I'm just going to drop the ball as hard as I possibly can right at the end.
Lex, what if they only want to talk to you? Where do they find you?
If they only want to talk to me, they can find me all over social media at the Lex Michael.
Awesome.
If they only want to talk to you, where do they go?
They can go also to Twitter, but at TauriJ, TauriJay.
And if they want to go through our highly sophisticated social media AI to talk to both of us simultaneously,
that is Missing Outcast. MissingOutcast. But you can also talk to both of us on the individual platforms that you consume this podcast on, whether it be iTunes, Google Play Store, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Overcast, or Podbean itself. If you leave us a comment, and if you leave us a rating, we will read your comment on the show. If you leave a rating, we will appreciate it, and we will go, hey, thanks. We don't know who you are, but thanks. So you'll still get that shout out, and it'll be real tight. But also, we just like hearing from you guys. You can also hit us up on the Missing Out hotline, which is 978-MISS-OUT. The number again is 978-MISS-OUT. And leave us a voicemail. Let us know your name and what you're into, or any specific comment you have, and we'll include it on the Missing Out Mondays segment that we do every Monday. All right, so I've been Tari J.
I have been, and despite my best efforts, will likely continue to be Lex Michael.
Aw, yeah. See you next week.
Did you know a turkey puppet once ran for the presidency of Ireland? Did you know that meat once rained from the skies of Kentucky? Did you know that there was an emperor of the United States for a while? Then listen to the Wiki Ship Down podcast.
We live in an age when the sum total of humanity's knowledge can be found in your pocket on a smartphone at any given time. But when that knowledge is peer editable, like it is on Wikipedia, what does that say about mankind? So follow us down the digital rabbit hole as we drink, joke, and curse our way through the random button on Wikipedia and see where our journey through humanity's knowledge takes us.
While you're at it, follow us on all social media at Wiki Ship Down. I'm Ruth Ann.
I'm Ryan, and be sure to find us every Wednesday on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, or wherever you listen to podcasts.